Yeah, so I feel like Luka took over that game in the second half. He
Yeah.
finished with 27 and 12 assists, one rebound shy of a triple-double. Um, but he picked apart the Raptors defense, right? And like part of that was foul trouble. OG and Scotty got into it pretty early and they tried Banton on him, they tried Precious on him, but obviously those aren't ideal. But like the question I have more so like goes back to this offseason. A big talking point was the Raptors defensive scheme, right? It's too aggressive, they foul too much, they're out of position to rebound, and all these role players are lighting us up from three. Meanwhile, stars last season were not lighting us up, right? Just that's kind of like been Nurse's philosophy, is like, let's really double team stars, get really aggressive on them, and make role players beat us. Basically, it's a good strategy in the playoffs. Regular season remains to be seen. This season, Tatum and Doncic have gotten much more one-on-one coverage. They're switching ball screens. They're living with the results, and like compared to last season, at least in my eyes, the defense isn't nearly aggressive against superstars. So I'm wondering, like, Samson, I think you wanted to tone it down a little bit, right? Like in the offseason. So like, what do you think about the way the Raptors are playing defense to start off the year? And yeah, like today, was it okay, the amount of aggression on Luka?
I think it was, especially at the start of the game when we're talking about how they played. And obviously with Boston, it worked quite a bit. This strategy they're running out currently, this scheme, works very well when there isn't a big man to punish them. They can switch across a lot of stuff. And if there isn't a guy who's going to threaten on the short roll, like a lot of the best big men do, and Kristaps Porzingis doesn't really, and neither did Al Horford really in the last game, or Robert Williams. The Raptors, with their length, can tag and be very aggressive, and they can even switch at the top and above the break. That all worked great, but that's probably something you have to, particularly with Luka, that's something you want to switch up as the game goes on, because you can't give Luka the same scheme. He's going to get a feel for it, and that's exactly what happened. And then the game slowed down significantly, and Luka, as far as a half-court creator, is significantly better than anybody that the Raptors had. And I think this defensive scheme is also, you could see the limitations of it against the Wizards as well, because Gafford was pretty potent, and Dinwiddie and Bradley Beal are both exceptional in the pick and roll and driving. That's where the weakness is you can't expect to just stop everything before it gets to the crucial point of the possession. And the Raptors have been exercising some of that preventative rim protection defense that Henry Ward talked about however long ago. And it's really good at times, but teams will get used to the rotations that are coming. And as we saw, Luka started playing cat and mouse with guys who are tagging the roll man, guys who are pinching in off the weak side and all that kind of stuff. So it created a very advantageous situation for Luka. Although I don't think the defense was really the main culprit in this game. Although you could see the seeds of how it might be problematic in the future. The offense, obviously, and not being fueled by transition, which kudos to Dallas and Luka for really slowing things down. But it's offense in this one. And really too bad that fouls came into play. And obviously that affected the spacing. Like having, as much as I love Delano Banton, the funk fest that he is, having him as a guy who's spacing out in a set is a lot different than OG Anunoby. And so when the ball ends up in somebody's hands and they can't really do anything with it, and there's maybe 5 or 6 seconds left on the shot clock, and they have to try and create from a standstill, the Raptors were in way too many of those situations. And so this game to me seemed like a limitation of their offense more so than their defense.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think for me, guys, we're talking about Luka Doncic as a half-court creator. And Samson put it perfectly. As soon as the game slowed down, Luka thrived. And you saw in this game, I thought the Raptors did a pretty good job in the first half, not just against Luka, but I think the whole team, they bogged down that Dallas offense to the point where they looked terrible, to be quite honest with you. And I don't know if that was more of a faction of the Raptors defense or the fact that Luka just couldn't get anything going offensively. And then the third quarter, as the Raptors started slowing down, OG was out of the game. That half-court offense just sputtered. OG left the game. Scotty even left the game at one point with a minor hip injury. I hope everything's good with him. And then it got to the point where the Raptors just couldn't score. And defensively, they were leaky. The rotations weren't as tight. Guys were coming late. Threes were being hit. And for the Raptors, the game started off with me going, you know what, the Raptors are going to be so much fun this year because it's just so much youthful energy. And I think even when they lose, sometimes you can get some positives out of that, where you're telling yourself that, I mean, this isn't a boring team to watch. I mean, there are spurts where the youthfulness does show. There's a lot of mental mistakes. I think there was one play specifically where the Raptors were in the middle of a run, I think at the middle of the fourth quarter, and Luka just looks up court. It was either Luka or Tim Hardaway Jr. looks up court and just finds a wide open guy in the corner, drive, and it's an easy layup, and Nick Nurse calls a timeout. So those type of plays I don't really understand. I don't know if that was just a simple miscommunication. No one knew where they were supposed to be. Fred VanVleet looked like he was, not too happy about it. But defense is going to be the theme this season for the Raptors. I mean, Nick Nurse predicated the system around length, around OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes.